crowdfunding should work. Okay, let me just explain to you how crowdfunding. Now understand, the crowdfunding that you think of isn't crowdfunding. It's a donation system developed by Kiva that Kickstarter and all these other copycats are following. Now, micro seed investing is basically a crowdfunding for investors. Now, it doesn't exist right now because the SEC doesn't allow it. However, the reality is that other countries are going to allow it, all right? And what's going to happen is going to generate billions of dollars, tens of billions of dollars for startups. Now, how do I envision this crowdfunding working, this micro seed? I call it micro seed investor. A micro seed investor is someone that is able to invest up to $5,000 into a startup in return for a 5-to-1 return, okay? So a micro seed investor is very important because a micro seed investor replaces the whole idea and concept of friends, family, and the foolish investor in the past. Those are traditional startup investor models: friends, family, and what we call the fools, the 3 F's. Now, as a micro seed investor, has a number of benefits. One is you're looking at an investment opportunity. Like if you go to foundups.com, if you go to mtrout.com, you can actually get my prospectus. I'm actually I'm right now crowdfunding $100,000 for 10% of the company to do, and I've outlined what we're going to do. So that's part of it. That's called a prospectus, or a strategic initiative, or a strategic plan. Now, what's unique with micro seed investors versus other investors is this. One is you have a company like FoundUps that's going to basically guarantee your investment. And the way we guarantee your investment is because we're hedging it against success. So we take profits from our success to hedge and secure the investments from those that go nowhere. And the way what we secure and we make this work is we allow you, once you put that money in, until you get a 5-to-1 return, you can move it from one investment to another investment. Now, you've got to provide, you have a couple things. One is you can't move the investment until actually the time frame. So you're giving that company X amount of time to bring back the investment. Once you move that investment, obviously you're going to lose. If that company does it in 5 or 6 years, you're going to use it. However, you've moved it to a different investment. So what this does is or you can pull the money out and you take your money back with basic interest rate. What this does is it creates a whole new environment for what I call the micro seed investor, where you don't have to worry about like putting your money in like a Citibank, right? A Citibank doesn't give you any return. However, as a micro seed investor, as you put your money in to different sort of startups and entrepreneur investments, you're going to get your money is still there. It's kind of like in a PayPal, but you're personally leveraging that PayPal money into different entrepreneur events. Now, how do we secure, or we make sure that you aren't screwed? Well, a couple things. One is we're using your money as a hedge. So as FoundUps, we're investing it into various different startups ourselves. So so what we're doing is we're saying, hey, we think that you are just as good at Citibank at picking what the next big thing is, and not only that, we'll provide you a return. So if that startup doesn't happen, you have a couple options. One is you could pull the money out with your basic interest rate. 2 is you could move it to a different investment, or 3 is you can keep it there and do for another. So a micro seed investor is very important for startups. Now, micro seed investors do not exist right now, right? The problem is SEC, the problem is other things. Now, but you can help. You can help by this, okay? As a way to start any startup, okay, for it to be, the way it's going to work for FoundUps, for it to be basically vetted, is you have to get 100,000 in pledges. 100,000 pledges. Now that's $25,000 investors. Now, as part of that, you're also providing, right now, we're providing a 60% referral fee, which means this, is if you know someone, say, listen, I know this guy, go listen to his video. He's got a great idea about, you know, helping entrepreneurs. You know, his name's Michael Trout. Go check it out. He's looking for 20 investors. Not only that, he's giving a 60% incentive in stock, right, for that investment. So what that means is, if you like find someone that invests $5,000 for 50,000 shares, because we're doing 10 cents a share right now, then what it means is you get 30,000 shares. That's not a bad deal, all right? Now, this only works for the first 100,000. It's an incentive. It's saying you're taking the biggest risk. You're out there crowdsourcing this idea from Michael Trout with others as a return, as a way to say thank you. I'm giving you a 60% commission on the equity that's bought. Now, as soon as we get our 100,000 in pledges, it's quit. Once those 100,000 in pledges come, then we basically say, listen, we have reached what's called a mitigating milestone. We have raised our first 100,000 for this entrepreneur. At this stage, what it means is this, is that now we have to collect the money. You have 60 days to deposit the money into the account. Now what happens is that startup, or found up, right, is able to get some important things done. For the most part, most people don't realize the most important aspect of any entrepreneur startup is what? Is IP. Now, IP costs money. There's no attorney in the world, and believe me, I've tried, will basically write you a patent. No attorney is going to pay you your federal filing fees for a trademark. It just ain't going to happen. Now, you know, to do an international trademark, right, it's going to cost you $20,000 for you to trademark your name or your brand in you know, around the world. Is going to cost you $20,000. Okay, but that's important. If you're building something, that becomes what's known as an asset for your company. 80% of all company valuation now is IP. It's non-tangible stuff. Okay, so it's important that these entrepreneurs can patent their ideas, trademark their things, build their proof of concept and everything else. So what I'm proposing to you is very simple. Now, where it starts is this, is I've got to prove that I can do it, right? So how do I do that? Well, it's simple. You send me an email and you say, listen, Michael, I pledged $5,000 for 50,000 shares. You know, again, it's not an offer. You're making a pledge. There's nothing illegal about it. I have to register with the SEC the moment I do a transaction of shares, making a pledge saying I am interested in, you know, in potentially purchasing these shares. Ultimately, you have final decision, you know, based on who I am and everything else. I may reject that. There's no guarantee. There's no, in essence, there's no public offering. All right. I'm saying, you know, would you be interested? I'm not saying here you are. Okay, it's two very different things. So crowdfunding is important. Micro seed investors are going to change the entire landscape. Don't let Kickstarter, don't let crowdfunding as you think of it today cloud your image or imagination of what it potentially is. Crowdfunding is more like kind of like a PayPal meets kind of Groupon, right? And if once you have enough people in that initial amount of investments, then that startup is levered. So help me prove it, okay? FoundUps is trying to establish a new way. So foundups.com, check us out, check me out, give me a call, send me an email. Anything at mtrout.com comes to me. All right, say asshole at mtrout.com. Thanks a lot.